I think this is the time when we go into the charts. Okay, so I'm going to start off with very first example. Example 1. We have a direction. We have a directional movement. I think at this point I need to replay modes. So we have a directional movement here, and the directional movement is actually showcasing so many information to us, so many key information, so many key points in this naked picture. And how do we begin? The first key point is to find BAB, the structural patterns. Now, all I can do to find that is go back in the past and just follow the structure. So the structure here is end to end to end to end, because I can see that this low was broken. And so if that ended, what happened next? This is the high. So I have pivot highs and pivot lows here, literally. And I can also see that this structure was broken here. So that is simple. This is B. This is A. And so the question now is this B? So you're going to see how I would say, you're going to see how I tell myself, okay, this is truly B. As I explained, the ranges and impulses from A to B. So I'm marking them out now. This is the exact same picture that you guys have in the Enigma file, by the way. So you can see I'm marking out all the ranges that produced impulse towards the direction of A. And then all of a sudden, I can see just right here, I can see that just right there, we had the intention. We had the intention that control demand has broken control supply and the price was ready to go bullish. So if I had the intention, then it simply meant that this is B. And just by doing so, I have my BAB formation. The moment I have this, every other thing is clear. The moment I have this, I've crossed so many hurdles, because this is the first and most important step. The moment you have this. Now, why do I say so? Because I can now see my control supply and control demand unmitigated. It's become obvious. So one thing you would notice from trading the Enigma and trading this way is that most of your trades will always come from the edge of structure. That is, you find out that your entries are coming from either the edge of A or the edge of B. I find that when you have trades that come from the edge of A or the edge of B, those trades end up being the long-term trades. Those trades end up being the ones that become the high of the week, the high of the day, or the high of the month. Those trades. And I don't know how the market does that. That's how it happens. And you're going to see me do so many examples showing you how that happened. Now, not just that, I can also see that this is the very first range at the end of structure. So that becomes CDV1, control demand V1. All right, a very vital information. Another information here tells me that this is also the very first range at A. I call it control supply V1. Second thing here is it tells me that this is a control supply everywhere here. Because one thing I like to do is look at things from small and big picture. Everything here is an impulse, range, impulse. I think that's how it would look like on maybe you say a daily time frame or 2 days time frame or maybe 3 days time frame, something like that. You see it as exactly, see it as a range, impulse, and a range. So I take all that as one. But on the entire time frame, it simplifies so many things for me. Now, what does it simplify? Number one, I can see that this is the very first range. Let me take this out. This is the very first range responsible for breaking B because this range was created. And when this range was created, it created an impulse to break B. Now, what does that tell you? That was V2 as well. So that was CSV2. So because it's CSV2, CSV2 can create an opportunity for a hedge trade, potential sell. But these trades, I personally don't like to take them because I don't like to trade in the middle of A to B. The best trades are always found at the edge of A to B. Now, I'll have you know that there are ways to refine this to have a better risk to reward rate, which is, of course, what I always practice. And I'm all about risk to reward because I'm a big believer in mathematics. And I think mathematics does not lie. Plus and minus is all we do in trading. And if it's not adding up, then you're basically not going to have a long-term growth. So I am all for that. So I want to show you how price reacted in the big picture. Of course, this also takes time as well. But the good thing about this is when your trade is true, when the trade is ready, the reward comes very, very quick. You're going to see it. So it might take you a week, 2 weeks to wait for the right trade. But when the right trade comes, the reward happens sometimes in 2 days, 3 days, and you have banger entries. Of course, the patient dog is the fattest bone. And that is definitely true. So I want you to see simple price action movement. Price moved from A to B. And you can see control supply to control demand. Or nothing fancy in the middle. Of course, I could have taken some, trade because I know where we're going, but I could find myself in some kind of losses that I'm not interested in. Then when I have the right direction and I understand where we're going, I can even take multiple trades. I can keep on stacking and all of that. First off, we get a reaction from the 3-hour time frame. I can vividly see intent. The reaction and the intent from my entry to A and CSV1 is clear. It's clean enough. That gives me reason to continue to sell off from this range here. In this range here, I would also have intent. I'll have reasons to continue to sell off until I get to B. Now, the reason why I marked out the CDV1 here is for hedge purposes. So hedging is also something that I advise in the Enigma. If you guys checked it out, I advise hedging because of the fact that so the example I used in the file is that imagine so let me bring it out. By the way, so imagine you're planning an outdoor event like a picnic and you're worried about unpredictability. So imagine I'm in profit and my objective is towards B. And then all of a sudden price retraces from B, price reacts into B. And just as I'm not paying attention, what happens next is potential intent happens here. That way, so it has not happened yet, but imagine it happens. I don't know if it did, but imagine it happens. That way, it gives me an idea of telling me to look out for potential hedge against myself. But ultimately, as long as the direction and the trend is bearish, I always, to me, this becomes A because there's nothing else unmitigated. So that's A, and A's objective is always to sweep out B. So eventually, what happens next? I get my intent there, but then let's also understand that even in this picture here, I have BAB formation, clean. One thing about the Enigma as well is, of course, you have to be smart. You have to be clever enough. And it comes with practice. It comes with experience. It doesn't come in one call with me. So potentially, this is a supply zone here, which is a V1, basically. So I would probably have gone into the 4-hour or the 5-hour time frame, try to find out the zone for potential hedge against myself, then re-entry or potential stack, who knows. So see how it happened. Okay, so the hedge, I think I'd have caught the sell. Then trying to look for a buy, I take my loss. All right. Still, I get my objective on my sales. Remember, the objective has been fulfilled. So when I'm in profit, I also try to hedge against myself, also try to trade against myself. I don't care if I'm going to lose because eventually I'm still going to make up the loss anyway. But it's always for the objective. At this point, my trade is fulfilled and I can fully get out of the trade. Because, and there are reasons why you can fully get out of the trade is because if you look at your entry is coming from here, and your entry also has an unmitigated CSV1. So that just tells you that you would have a lot more opportunity looking for a buy this time around towards that zone if you're looking for a sell. And that's how I trade it. So I look for the next time when B reformed. So in this case, let's find out when was B formed. Now I'll ask you guys a general question. Has B been formed yet? So the general question, I want to just check if you guys actually are paying attention. Has B been formed yet? Because, remember, it's all about the beginning and the end. So I've made my profits. I can chill, I'm relaxing. But I know that when I have the new B, then a new trade formation is open. So the next question is, has B been formed yet?
Yes, B has been formed.
Okay, so if you say no, can you tell me why it's been formed? And if you say yes, can you tell me why? Why yes? I see so many no's and I see yeses. So why? For people who say no, why has it been formed? Okay, so no, because there's no intent. Okay, so for people of no, they say because of intent. So what about the guys of yes? Why it has been performed?
Yes, because there's this little supply zone that was broken before. This like drop-based drop. So I feel like that's the intent there.
Okay, so let's find out. So the thing is, we've broken major structure point. Now the question is this B? But the idea is that this is a range, right? It's a range, right? And this range did not create any impulse to break B. Very key stuff. Do you get that? Because then it's a question of where's V2? Where's V2? Because remember,
The V2 is the last range that broke B.
exactly. And there's no range yet that broke B. So B has not been formed.
Yeah, B has not been formed.
Does that make sense, guys? It's a simple, you see, it's a question you have to ask. You see, everything is literal. Like I said, you always have different characters, different things will happen. This situation will never happen again. You see another situation. But you always ask the questions and you always use the answers that you have to answer those questions. The answers. For example, we always say that V2 breaks B. So the first question I'm asking myself here is, where's the V2? Is this a V2? No, because it did not create an impulse to break B. Very, very key. Until an impulse is created to break B, then that's when V2 is formed. So we wait for that. You see that? Is that clear? So now we have a range. We have V2, and the V2 is right here. Is that clear? I'm not going to mark out this short term, but then, so what we do next is we are now waiting for B. So we keep on marking out all the ranges created. This is a key range here. Okay, so play again. Another range. You can see every range that has been formed is towards the direction of A. So B has not been formed yet. Okay. Question, has B been formed? Let me go back somewhere here. Has B been formed here? Yeah, I see.
Yes.
Yes.
It has been formed.
Okay. So yes, B has been formed. Why? Because we can now see that ranges are creating bullish impulses. Okay. We can now see the ranges are creating bullish impulses, and these bullish impulses have broken two control supply zones. First control supply zone was this one. You can see we have a drop. Then we have ranges, drop, ranges, drop. Then all of a sudden we have a range and an impulse. We have a range and then an impulse to break the zone. So guys, we have B. Intent has now been formed. Does that make sense? And so, because we have intent, which is the moment this high was broken, we now have CDV1, potential entry point.
Oh.
And now we have the liquidity between A to B, because we have unmitigated zone here. So this is a range. So we have two ranges here. So CSV1, CSV1. And all this is just control supply. So because I have this formation, BAB, all in play, my trade opportunity is clear. I have a buy opportunity from here because the objective of B, so remember, the A objective is towards B, but B also has its own objective. B's objective is to go and correct all of this, is to go and take out the liquidity between A to B, all the things that did not do anything major, CSV1, CSV2. Okay, so I'm going to watch out for a hedge here because it is CSV2. And remember, structure is bearish. So these are my only key things I'm paying attention to. Again, I'm just doing rough work for you guys, but everything still remains the same. When you practice, when answers will come to you. So let's see what happens. So we get the entry, and then we get a new high. After a new high, you have reasons to continue to stack, continue to buy, and you can start to see the market even as this as a new A to B movement. So in this case, this would be A to B, and then the new A, right? So it's a case of you waiting for when the new B formed. So I think the new B was formed there, and you start to look for, okay, V1, V2, where am I going to buy from? Am I going to buy from here, or am I going to buy from here? You know, and you get your stock opportunities. So look at how it moved. Then we get to the V2. So V2 didn't work out, no hedge, price goes all the way. And of course, I find myself in different buy opportunities as price continues to move, even in the lower time frames as we go to my objective. So guys, you see how from just finding out that B gave intent towards the CDV1, the opportunity and the bag is bigger than whatever you can imagine. Like I said, it takes time to wait for it, but then when the reward comes, it comes in full. You get your money and you get confidence, you know what you're doing, and you can even keep on going towards the opportunity, especially when you have a big play A to B movement like this. Of course, you never have the same opportunity twice in the market. So let's see as price goes all the way to CSV1. So we get here. Now this is my first stack up, first another hedge opportunity against the sales, because of course you know me. So stack there. And even there, you can even watch out and see that you have intent. You see, we have ranges, impulses, there's an intent. Then there'll be a range to continue selling again, and you can have more stacks, and that's how you can destroy the trading charts. You see that? Everything is about control supply to control demand. And the best trades, again, I reiterate, always found at the edge of A and at the edge of B. The middle is more of stacks and continuations into the movements. That's where the money making move happens, like I say. But yeah, this is an intro into the Enigma. This is to show you what the Enigma is capable of doing. Let's go back into the charts. So just so I don't forget something. So I told you that I have a playbook. So let me go into the trade for this week, for the month rather. How was I able to catch it? How was I able to catch the sell that happened from 2061? Simple. It was CSV1. So you're going to see it now. So, okay. So I'm simply going to mark out my A to B formation here on the 20-hour time frame. Remember, you don't have to overthink these things. It is as you see it. So A to B, in this case here, is simple. Anyway, there's so many big pictures here, so I don't want to overcomplicate things for you guys now. I want to keep it simple. So we have a point here, we have another point there. I don't care if it's A, B, whichever one, but those are 2 points. And because those are 2 points, I can see that at the edge of these 2 points, there are unmitigated demand. But at the edge of this point, there's already supply being controlled, right? So it means that this one is already playing this game. So if this is B, then B has already done the CSV1 reaction towards the liquidity, which is this low, right? Simple. So it means that whatever trade I take will be from a bearish trend and I keep selling towards the liquidity, right? And towards CDV1, right? But now, what if this is not B and what if this is A, right? Because like I said, I just picked 2 points, but then I'm trying to see which one is A or B. Remember, this is the point it's coming from. Anyway, so, and that way I can find my BAB, very, very simple. So if this is A, then A's objective is always towards B as well. And if it's A, then there's nothing else here, because it's just a wick. And I can see that the structure is also intact. So that also means that I should also look for sell, and I should sell towards this down path. So all indications, whether be it A or B, are telling me to keep on selling downwards, especially if the structure is bearish. You see? Simple, right? So with that case, in fact, I already know my structure point is simple. So this is B, A, B. Why? This was going up, so it ended here, but it did not continue. It did not just die. Instead, it continued in that same direction. B, A, B. So because I have my BAB, I know that everything else is going to be correct. So we move on. So if this is BAB, like I said, this is the reaction to B, right? To the B. So control supply is coming somewhere. It's going somewhere. Ultimately, it's coming here and also coming to take out liquidity. So these are our 2 objectives. Simple. So if this is the objective, where's my, let's look out for, let's also look out for the ranges as price started to come from. So first range, second range, third range, right? And that was before I caught this move. So I'm going to replay mode. Okay. So I already knew that there was intent. Nobody needs to tell me that there was intent here because I can already see that demand was broken. CS break CD. And so prepared for a continuation trend. So if we go into the lower time, for example, I was able to signify that since this is the highest point of the current range, if only when price breaks this high, then I would say, okay, I have intent and maybe price came here to sweep this liquidity and they've created a new A here and this is now B, so I can now find A and continue to buy, right? So I looked for what was unmitigated from that high to this low. So I'll use different time frames. And if you come here in this picture here on time frames, you see the time frames I use and how I use them. So the Enigma uses the 20-hour time frame as its foundation. employing the uniqueness of his candlesticks for reading price action. It also complements this with other time frames such as the H4. This is used to refine the 23-hour control supply or control demand being one of V2. So if the risk to reward is too big, I go into the 4-hour inside that 23-hour just to refine it, or I go inside it into the H1 and I go inside or inside. I just keep on going inside just so I can have a much favorable risk to reward ratio. So of course, I don't see any unmitigated zone here, so I must keep on looking for an unmitigated CSV1 so I can get that first range. Of course, there's no V2 here anymore because V2 was here and it was already manipulated here, so there's really nothing here. So I was just needed to look for that V1. So I go into 30, I go all the way into the 15-minute time frame just to find the range. I don't really pick the 5 minutes. 15 minutes is like max. So on the 15 minutes here, you can see the range option. In this case, I pick close of the body to the high of the wick for a much favorable risk to reward. Of course, like I say, I love a much better risk to reward because I'm all about the numbers. I don't like to overthink things. So that becomes the trade opportunity. And if that would be the trade opportunity, the objective obviously would be here and then other zones. So that's how I was able to catch the trade. Does that make sense? As you can see, straightforward, simple. Yeah. And so normally, of course, we're expecting to sell off to these zones. But remember what I did when I was giving an example? I looked at the possibility that there's somewhere up here unmitigated. And to me, it's like, okay, then it means that I can take off all my profit and just wait for price to come up here and we'll do it again, So the question now is a case of where's the B? Has B been formed? So let me ask you guys a question. Has B been formed? So remember, in as much as we're going down, we also have structure. We have structure all the time. So this is my B, A. Remember, this was a former A and former B. So if this is B, A has been formed. Question.
Not yet.
Someone said yes. Why has
No
been?
shades.
So B has not been formed because we don't have, yes, we do have V2. So let's actually mark that out. So we have V1 and V2 already, right? But we don't know if B has been formed yet because we have not seen a break of the V2. Yes, we have a range creating bullish impulse, but what if he reacts into this and continues to sell off, right? So we would know if B has been created the moment to get a break of the CSV2. That makes sense. So let's check that out. So there we go. B has been created. So because B has been created here, then it means that there can be a potential buy opportunity from this low towards the V1 for a possible hedge against a continuation towards objective. Does that make sense? So to the 4-hour, just to refine and find out the range of whatever. Let me actually play this. Okay, so so we have simple. Mark out the first range. And the second range, you have a rally range. We have like 3 base candles in there. And then we have 2 impulses. Now, these 3 base candles that created these 2 impulses were not reacted to. And then we have price come back to reacting to them. So this was the potential buy hedge opportunity towards liquidity. Take this off. So the risk reward on this, I didn't want to chase it because I wanted something much more favorable. So we have 30 pips each for potential. Yeah, so it's overall 1 to 10, which is good enough. So the question now is, did this reaction actually give any intent to say that, okay, even in as much as we miss this, can we now say, oh, this reaction has given intent, and then we have that confidence to keep on buying all the way up here? So comes the next question. So we can go into the H1 and then look at it from A to B perspective and say, starting from this reaction, is this reaction B? Has B been created yet? So that's the question I'm throwing out. Has B been created yet? Is this the end of this move? Question. So you said yes. So why do you say yes?
Because the last range that cleared B has been taken out.
You said the last range that cleared B has been taken out. Is it possible to annotate what you're saying?
Let me see.
Actually, one word I'm looking for. There's always one word we look for when we're trying to find out if B or A has been created, and the word is intent. Remember. So the idea
Breaking supply.
intent was created right here. Now, let me explain. Price is coming down, right? And when it came down, it created a range, and then it came and touched into the demand, right? And then when it tapped into the demand, what happened? The demand created impulse. Now, this impulse came back down and did what? Broke the high. So I see this as double intent, and I'll explain. This is the first range and the last range, control supply. Control supply was broken by that momentum. Then the momentum has given you another double intent, which is the continuous break of this range. And then that becomes control demand. So AKA, this is B, A, so, B, and then B. You see it? You see it? B, A, B. And then price formed A here. And because price formed A, was able to form a new high. And after the new high, you have a propel price action towards this range. And so it starts to refine. So I think I saw it in a 30-minute frame. The markets reacted into just before the market closed for the month, for the week. You see it? I think it looks same on 30-minute, right? Okay. So yeah, that's basically it. And then that could become a buy opportunity. And this is V1, by the way, as you can see, towards liquidity. And
Derek, sorry, is this 23 minutes?
yes, 23 minutes. The 23 number is something that I use the most. I love the 23 number, the number 23. So you always say it with the Enigma, whatever. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you get a potential buy and a potential hedge. I think the hedge is also obvious there on H1 as well. Even 2 or 3 are right there. You see it. So buy to sell. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all about the Enigma. As you can see, it really isn't that complicated, is it? Is it simple? What do you guys think? Don't you guys think it's simple enough?
Yeah, it's quite simple. I feel like it takes a lot of practice.
100%. Like I said, it took me 3 years to actually get it. So I don't think it's going to take you 3 years for sure. I'm not saying it's going to take you 3 years, but like I said, if you actually follow me and follow the journey and you keep on practicing and watching and trying to understand how this works, eventually it's going to click. And when it clicks, you'll be grateful. So yeah, someone said explain A and B again. So I personally think that if you've not been able to understand A to B now, even after I've done all these things, then maybe the Enigma is not for you. Because like I said, you need somebody who's smart and sharp to grab it quick. If you can't grab it quick, you will not find success. Hello, Rick, please mark the POI. I use a parallel channel tool to mark it out, and it gives me the opportunity to have 2 trades so I can have a greater risk to reward ratio. That's how I do it. So as you can see, the setup automatically already puts me in a spot where I have my potential trade at the edge and at the edge, and then I can see what happens in the middle if I'm able to make my money. And this is liquidity. You don't mark the lower wicks. The thing is, how I mark my stuff eventually is based off of practice and failure. So don't worry, you will learn when you try it out. It's something that you should actually have as your personal experience. So you're going to know exactly how to mark it out. I mark it out now because of how much practice and how much experience I have. It's not like I'm going to tell you it's like this or it's like this or I did like this. Practice. Try it out. Fail. Try to fail. One thing that I think I should say is try to fail in this because you're not going to learn if you don't fail. My man Rick, nice markup. Thank you very much. Yeah, so yeah, guys, that brings me actually to the end of showing you guys a little bit, probably everything about the Enigma. Like I said, you will never find the same situation all the time. Different situation, different times. But the logic and the logic will always remain the same. The idea will always remain the same. The objectives of A to B will always remain the same. And if you keep it that way, I'm very, very sure. In the long term, if you take it 1 year, 2 years in this, I'm pretty sure if you keep and stay dedicated into it, you'll find success. I hope to hear some more, and you can go through this file and you get so much more information. So on that note, my time is up. Take care, everybody. Speak to you some other time. Bye.